Okay. I wanted to make a video today about free time. And I don't have, I don't know, I don't have the best words of wisdom to speak to this, but something occurred to me today and I wanted to maybe communicate this in case it can help someone or just allow somebody else to think about something that could be bothering them. And that's kind of the purpose of this. What I want to talk about is how free time can be it might not be what you want it to be for you. Free time can be destructive. And I think this past week, for the past 7 and what will eventually be 10 days, I will basically be at home, have been at home by myself, with no one and nothing impeding upon my time. And this sounds like a vacation, a staycation for a lot of people, but for one thing, my business partner is away, so I can't conduct the usual business that I would be conducting. So I kind of had to put that off. Some of the work from home stuff I do was dried up. There wasn't really work to do, so I didn't do much work this week, and I had time to do anything that I wanted, which turned out to be actually quite difficult, a difficult circumstance to deal with as the days go on. And there's nothing, sure, you could do a lot of reading, you could catch up on whatever show you want to catch up on or whatever movie. You can play whatever video game has been backlogged for you. You could do a lot of things. That coming up with ideas on things to do is not the problem. The trouble really occurs when you figure out that you're spending a lot of your time trying to avoid your worst habits, your worst tendencies, because nobody's going to stop you. So, like, if you get caught up on your phone, if you get caught up on social media or YouTube or something that really just kind of wastes your time, and nobody's there to stop you, nothing in your schedule is going to stop you. You have to be careful. You spend a lot of your time and energy fighting your worst tendencies to waste time and to do things that are actually harmful for yourself, such as binge eating food, binge watching TV, um, binging on video games. Those things get old. Like maybe one day or two you spend doing that stuff, but that stuff gets old pretty fast to the point where you don't even enjoy it. And you're just cycling between things, fighting off boredom, but more fighting off this tendency one can easily have, which is to do nothing. And by do nothing, I don't mean literally sitting in your couch doing nothing at all, but just not doing anything productive, no skill building, nothing that is creative, nothing that is a form of work or effort, because you're spending all your energy trying to avoid overdoing the bad stuff. So I came to think that excessive free time is not a good thing for me. It might be okay for a lot of people; they could probably handle it, but maybe they think they can handle it because they don't have it, and then when you get it, you realize that it's not all that's cracked up to be. Before long, you wish you could be doing something more than just consuming things, and you wish you had a creative job to go to that would kind of make you or force you to put in some effort, to get paid to do effort. It is hard to do effort on things if you're not getting paid, and not every hobby some hobbies can really occupy people, but that's because they get an extra kick from doing the hobby because they spend all their time working. So when they have the free time, they do maximize it. I'm talking about when you just have lots of free time and almost too much free time and you struggle to do anything about it. It's kind of like, well, I make this equivocation, which is time is money. So if you have a lot of time, that's equivalent to having a lot of money. But then people also say money can't buy happiness. And I would also have to say that time cannot buy happiness. You spend a lot of your time thinking about things and just what do we think about most? What is a recurring theme to think about when you're spending a lot of time by yourself? It's to think about yourself. And you think about yourself and you dwell upon yourself and your life and where your life is going. You dwell upon uh, your inevitable death. You dwell upon the fact that you have the time but you're not using it in the way that you would like to use it. And this is bothering you because you should be using it a lot better than this. Isn't that what everybody wants? Just like how everybody wants money, everybody also wants time. And I say as somebody who's had a lot of free time in my life, I've been an adult that has managed to spend his life avoiding the grind for a lot of it. I mean, there's many years where I had to work, but I've also had years off, or years where I was just working very, very little. Um, but honestly, I would rather have had a career in something I was interested in doing and pouring my time into that. I would have rather have had that, but that opportunity wasn't open to me. I wasn't able to ever get a career level job. I just had little jobs that anybody would be wanting to escape. But it kind of, this desire for free time, it feels like chasing the dragon. It feels like hunting the white whale, where you want to, it started as a child for me. I can only speak for myself. I only know what it's like to live as me. I don't know what it's like to live as you or anyone else, even my close family. I don't know what it's like to live like them. But that's just kind of, balderdash. That's not really important. But what I'm trying to say is, ever since I was a child, it seemed like once I went to school, nursery school, and then kindergarten, and then the grade schools. Once I went to school, it's like my brain developed this survival programming that was get back that free time, get back that unstructured free time. And then, of course, every summer vacation was a massive dopamine hit for a child. And you learn that's the best thing about life, a summer vacation. And then you spend the rest of your life chasing that summer vacation, trying to get that back. As a teenager, you don't have it so much because you're starting jobs, you're working, or you have a lot of pressure on you to work. Um, so it was really just childhood. And then when you get that proverbial summer vacation as an adult, it's fleeting. It's not so satisfying because you have to stop at some point. As a kid, you would wish it could go on forever because you're taken care of. Your parents take care of, if you're a lucky child and you have two parents and your parents are not impoverished, and so on and so forth, and all the extra things. But basically, if you just have two parents who are loving and they work and they pay the bills and you aren't wanting for food and so on and so forth, then your summer vacation is grand and everybody's doing things for you and planning a vacation trip for you, and making your meals for you, and you are free to do whatever you want. ad nauseum. So as an adult, when you have lots of free time, you learn quickly that it's not it's sweet at first, but then it gets bitter the more you swallow, the more you take it on. It's that law of diminishing returns, or is it the law of diminishing utility? Marginal utility. Law of diminishing marginal utility, I believe, is the economic law, where the more you have of something, the less value you place upon it. And of course, that is what I'm feeling with lots of free time. And just like that idea that you can destroy somebody with a lot of money. You know, if you want to destroy somebody, just give them a ton of money, and then their vices will take over and they will destroy themselves. I think free time can also be that way. I mean, think back to the pandemic when a lot of people were home and getting paid lots of unemployment money, more than they normally would have been paid. I remember going to the supermarket and there would be no snacks left. Like the chips were just gone. All the frozen pizzas were gone. Um, Candy was disappearing. Like all the snack foods were disappearing from the shelves. And it was not a supply issue, it was a demand issue that caused the supply problem. Lots of people gained weight during the COVID pandemic shutdowns. I remember hearing that alcohol consumption greatly increased during that time. I remember reading a lot of stories on social media where people uh, couldn't fit into their pants anymore. And they weren't even like aware of that fact until their boss or their job told them they have to come back. And then they found out. And then in a panic, they would say, they would post on Reddit or something like, I can't, what am I going to do? I can't even get fit into my pants and I have to report to work on Monday. I remember reading a story where a guy said that he tried to, he might have been on unemployment or working from home for a few weeks, and then he went for a walk down the street and he found his legs hardly worked, and he felt really weak. Like there were people whose muscles atrophied because they were so inactive. And I remember reading about Netflix reported way more usage. People were obviously binge watching TV and eating. Lots of stories where people said they got overweight, and they had never been. Even a lot of people who had never been overweight before, not people who are already overweight becoming even more overweight, but non-overweight people becoming overweight people. So I reflected upon that, and I realized free time is not, we think it's going to be a gravy train. You think that if you get the free time that you want, you're going to maximize it. You're going to live life. You are going to, you're a free man, you're a free woman. You're just going to, you're going to finally write that novel you want to write. You're going to finally learn to program. You're going to finally delve into some other skill, painting, drawing, kayaking, hiking, something. But really, free time is quite difficult to manage. Just like somebody who suddenly comes into a lot of money might find it difficult to manage their money, so too is it with free time, with time itself. You have a lot of it all of a sudden, open up, your schedule is completely opened up. And it's going to be difficult to not just plunge into all of the most base pleasures that you crave when your job gets at its dullest, and but then it doesn't take long before, when you fire up the fourth movie of the day, that it doesn't feel worth it. It doesn't feel interesting anymore. Nothing feels interesting. It's like you burn out on that stuff pretty quickly, and then you wish that you had something to do that was meaningful. But free time is can be destructive. It can be a blessing and a curse. Free time should be treated carefully. So, because my wife and child they're visiting family in another country right now, Canada. They, I've been at home because I don't have my passport and circumstances prevent me from traveling. So this has happened. This is not the first time this happened. This usually happens once a year for me, and it's always a struggle. In the past, as soon as they would leave, I would binge eat food. I'd have pizza, ice cream, candy, soda. I would binge food and I would binge movies for a few days, and it would knock me out for several days after that. And usually by day 5 or 6, I would start to be productive again. And this time I refuted my previous past self by fasting the first 3 days. I tried to go 4, but I had to cut the fast short because I was just not feeling good at all. And I've been eating clean for a month now, and so the fasting and everything wasn't too damaging, wasn't too difficult. But I did have to cut it short, and I've mostly just been eating clean since. I've just gotten pizza once. I did give in, but I moderated my consumption of it. I didn't just go hog wild on it, and I've moderated my consumption of desserts and things like that. I haven't had dessert in a month, and I just had a little bit, um, some chocolate and stuff during this period. Now, I also, made sure to try to put work first. A lot of things around the house that needed doing, I did. I essentially put myself to work as best I could, but I still have just an excessive, grotesque amount of free time. And when you have a lot of free time, when you feel like you can plan a whole week's of stuff, your mind goes crazy with all these things you could plan to do, and you drive yourself a little nuts trying to figure out all these things you can do. The ideas are endless of stuff that you can do that would be productive, that would be useful, but the execution of all that stuff is overwhelming. It's easy to overwhelm yourself with too much on your plate. Too many fun things, too many interesting things, and too many work-related skill-building things that would be important to do, but you just don't do it. You learn quickly that it's a struggle, that you're not suddenly a hardworking type A personality disciplined person just because you have the time. Just like how a lot of people know that once they have the money, or a lot of people learn once you fall into money, that you're not going to, suddenly spend the money wisely. You're not going to suddenly be highly disciplined with your money. It all takes work. Everything you do takes work. Um, So yeah, this is just a cautionary tale. I'm just trying to caution anyone who watches this that you know, don't chase free time like you chase money. Don't try to figure out ways to maximize your free time. Don't try to, and the reason is I'm not saying don't pursue those things at all, because that would be the equivalent of saying don't pursue money at all, but you need some money to survive. You're not going to just be a homeless person, who even homeless people have to pursue money still. So what I'm saying is just be careful. Just be ready that it's not going to be so easy if you do achieve the free time that you want. Um, just because you fall into free time or you get free time doesn't mean that you're going to maximize it. I have had 7 days. It's been since last Friday, not this past Friday, but the Friday before that. I've had to myself, and I have just now made a video to put on my YouTube channel. I'm not actually like a YouTuber, but I have this YouTube channel, and I think I'm going to make these videos about books that I read. And I've had all the time. I don't have an excuse. That's the other hard thing is you don't have the excuse anymore. Like, you find out who you are. You find out maybe I really am just kind of lazy, and I'm not a hard worker. I'm not the self-starter go-getter that I thought I was. Or I'm not nearly as driven, or it takes a lot more to motivate me. Maybe I'm not really a motivated person. There's some scariness that can happen that reveals the light is revealed upon yourself when you have so much time to yourself, which is, are you really going to do that stuff you talk about when you've got all the time? I'm writing a novel. I wrote 2 pages. I could have written like 10 pages a day and really gotten a lot farther in it. But it's a struggle. So I think just because you utilize your time at your job well, I've never felt lazy at my jobs. Anytime I've had a job, I feel like I work hard when I'm at the job. It's like I don't work hard when I'm just doing it for myself in my own free time. I tend to just, like most people, fall into the basest pleasures and struggle to remain productive, and wondering what it's all about. Why could I ever be that way? If I suddenly won the lottery and had all the money in the world, would I go insane? Would I lose my mind because I couldn't make myself do the things that I know would be better to do than the things that are the least worthy to do? I think that's why some people, they get depressed. I read and hear stories about young people who spend all day on TikTok, and they don't really seem to do anything, and they think they're depressed, and maybe they are depressed, but their circumstances and their actions also, I can see that stuff making somebody lose their mind. And the maddening aspect of the reality of who you are, and just that you're just a human, and you are not a grinder. You're not somebody capable like a robot to work around the clock. You are not that very top level person who pursued their interest day in, day out. You're not on fire for whatever problem in life you're trying to solve, because you don't have anything like that. You're not like how Richard Feynman or Albert Einstein or Paul Dirac. You're not how those famous, interesting scientists that made real progress in the knowledge of mankind. You're not going to be like they were or would be with their supposed alleged free time. It's all a fantasy. It's all just make believe. And I had also thought, who else has a lot of free time? Not freedom, but free time, and that's prisoners. Prisoners have a lot of free time. They're just there's nothing. Maybe there's some things scheduled for them, but in general, a lot of prisoners have to develop their own routines in order to pass the time and deal with time. Having time itself is not really the greatest thing. Now, I remember, this reminds me of when I was reading Malcolm X's autobiography, which was actually not an autobiography. It was written by another man who wasn't Malcolm X, somebody who knew him and interviewed him. So Malcolm X did not actually write his autobiography. It was just a biography. But I remember when he was in prison, one of the prisons that he was in, he copied down word for word the dictionary, some big dictionary that he had access to. He rewrote that dictionary on paper, every word. And I thought that was maybe evidence of autism at the time when I read it, because I thought, who can do that? Who has the focus, the single-minded focus to spend all day, every day for months, copying down the dictionary. Who's going to do that? But what else are you doing? You know, maybe somebody else in that circumstance would do that. But I don't, and I've never heard of any other prisoner doing that. So maybe that was just a Malcolm X thing. It was certainly evidence of the kind of mentality and intellect he had. And I don't know where I'm going with this. I was reminded of it, but I was just thinking how, um, a lot of prisoners, they're not doing that with their time, but they need routines. They need to develop mechanisms to pass the time. And we are all this way. We all have to figure out ways to pass the time that are not debasing to the point where you are destroying yourself and who you are, where you are atrophying your mind, where you are atrophying your body, as many people did during the pandemic when they were forced to be home. So I don't know. You can keep chasing that dragon of free time, but I'm telling you, as somebody who has had an abnormal amount of free time as an adult, because that's what I saw. I mean, at school, I did the bare minimum. I got passing grades. It was so that I never had to bring homework home. It was so that I always had as much free time as possible. My whole life was all about maximizing free time. And I did. I accomplished it. But it didn't really open up the avenues that I thought it would. I didn't turn into the type of person I assumed I would become. There's still a lot of work to be done just being a person. And free time and the pursuit of free time and the acquisition of free time is not, it's not, don't take it lightly. Take it very seriously. I'm sure many people can think of somebody they've known in their family who is retired. And what does that retired person do with their time? I know a few that just spend it just watching TV the whole time. That they have Fox News on, and it's on from the morning to the evening, and that seems to be all they do. And I think, isn't there other stuff that you would want to do? But then I think of myself, and I think, well, I mean, I do a little more than that, but I'm still very susceptible to the same things. And then maybe when somebody's retired and they don't have to worry about trying to pursue money anymore, their work life is done, it's over with, and you're in the twilight of your life and you don't know how much longer you have. I can see that being quite difficult. I can see that a lot of ideas would be there, a lot of pursuits that one could do, but I can see the great difficulty in trying to prevent your greatest vices from taking over. Like I know somebody who could, they have the intelligence and the skills to write a great novel or something, and they're retired, but they spend their time on Facebook. They spend their time talking to people on Facebook, and also just hyper engaged in the news. And I see that as destructive to them because I feel like there should be more to life than that. But I think we are all susceptible. We are all going to be having to deal with these dangers, these pitfalls, what we do with our leisure time. Don't assume that you're going to spend your leisure time doing the right thing for yourself. It's not so easy. It's just as much work. It's hard work. This whole week has been hard work to not consume myself mentally by attacking myself, by digging into my life, by overthinking who I am and where my life is going. I spent a lot of time journaling, processing a lot of emotional things. It's been hard work to avoid overdoing the pleasures. It's work trying to not play too many video games, watch too many movies, and that sort of thing. It's work to make sure that you cook a steak for yourself and not go out to McDonald's just because you don't feel like doing anything, not even cooking. Um, there's effort there. There's willpower that has to still be engaged, Everything's not going to come easily. I'm not just going to be spending my days like creating a bunch of YouTube videos going over a bunch of books that I've read, the hundreds and hundreds of books that I have read these past few years that I haven't covered with this YouTube channel that I thought I would do, but it's not so simple. Anyway, I don't really know. I've been yammering for half an hour, and God bless you if you have stayed this long to hear a nobody like me just speak his mind and talk to you about having a lot of free time, which you're probably thinking like, bro, stop. How can you complain about having free time? But it's like hearing somebody complain about having money, and I get it. I get it. Does seem ridiculous, and I almost didn't want to make this video, but I thought, I might as well just make a video and speak my mind on this, and if it gets to somebody, if it tells them, hey, I have like a week to myself coming up, and I should probably plan to be careful not to fall into my vices, because that one guy on YouTube who seems to like books for some reason um, told me so. Anyway, I'm done here. Next time, until then, whatever. See ya.